Good morning. I want you to imagine a situation with me. Imagine you are in a bank, and this is maybe a larger bank. There's like 50 people around you. It's a busy time of day, and all of a sudden, from behind you hear a few screams that somebody has a gun. And they yell, "This is a bank robbery." And you look around, people are terrified, and in order to make this the bank robber's point, they end up taking one shot, and they hit you in the arm. Now, I want you to remove yourself from the situation now. Looking back at it, let's say you're in the hospital and you're thinking about it, would you consider yourself lucky or unlucky? I'm going to give you a moment to think about this. 50 people in the bank robber hits one person, it's you. Do you consider yourself lucky or unlucky? Research has been done about this question, and what has been found is that about 30% of people believe they are lucky. 70% of people typically perceive themselves as unlucky. Now here's where it gets interesting. People who believe they are lucky in that situation, they found that those people are typically more successful in business and in life in general. People who believe themselves as unlucky tend to be in the majority of people that are not as successful in business or life. So what is the key here? What is it that separates these two groups of people? The separation is perspective. Perspective is everything when it comes to success. If you see yourself as somebody who, you were shot in the arm. Lucky people might say something like this: well, it hit me rather than hitting anybody else. So I was lucky because I was able to save other people and I didn't die. It hit me in the arm. It didn't hit me in the heart. It didn't hit me in the head. It hit me in the arm. So I was able to in some ways help all these other people. So I consider myself really lucky because I didn't die doing it. The unlucky people simply go, "Oh, I was the one hit." What's your perspective? What's your perception? Here's what I want your perception to learn to be, and I want you to grow this. This is where I'm gonna give you some practice today. The practice is to practice getting excited about failure. Get excited about failure. When it comes to happiness, when it comes to joy, when it comes to business success, a really important perspective is understanding that failure is part of growth. Those people who see failure as something that is lucky, when they fail at something, they're like, "Oh, this is so wonderful." Those people who have that kind of perspective end up doing far better in business. They end up doing far better in relationships. Why? Because the perception is, what do I do with this? The other group of people tends to judge it. "Oh, I was unlucky, it was bad, I couldn't have done anything." And the difference between those people is the first group tends to see their ability to control a situation or get something out of a situation as something that lies in their favor, it's within their control. So they end up taking more control in life. The people who feel out of control in life end up taking less action. They end up taking less responsibility for their actions and less control over their lives because they don't feel that way. Your perception is everything. So what I want you to do, and I'm sure I've said this in another video at some point in time, but in this happiness series, what I want you to do is practice the failure games on a consistent basis, whether it's with friends or family, kids, parents, siblings, whoever it is. Get together with a group of people and say, who had the biggest failure today? And what can we learn from it? How is it a great thing? How is it a wonderful thing? Sometimes if you simply leave it with, what can we learn from it? It's kind of frustrating in some ways, okay? But, although that's also a good perspective. But what I want you to ask specifically is, who had the biggest failure, and how was that a wonderful thing? How was that a wonderful thing? I'll give you an example. I lived in China for a while, and I came back to Canada, and I wanted to make some money. I was like, I don't like the kind of life that I was looking at for my future. And so I decided to get involved in the stock market, and I borrowed some money from different people, and I started investing this, and I had a pretty solid plan, but I went away from that plan, and I started doing things that were not as wise, okay? Now, I paid back all that money to everyone else, but I lost a bit of money there, a significant amount of money. And some people might look at that and go, like, you were in the hole a lot, you had some debt there. The way I look at that is, that was wonderful. That was a wonderful experience to go, wait a second, I was managing other people's money. I've got to be responsible with that, and I've paid everyone back. But apart from that, there's also this aspect of going, it was wonderful to have that experience and to learn that if I deviate from the plan, I'm going to not do as well. So to have a good plan and then follow the plan. Don't take unneeded risks. Unneeded risks, in my definition, are basically things that are straying from the plan. If you stick to the plan, it's a good plan, you're going to be fine. Practice the failure games. Practice changing your perspective. Start seeing things in a new way. This is something that anyone can change. Practice failure games with friends, family, whoever it is, and start to change how you see failure. Once you start getting excited about failure, that was fantastic. That was fantastic. That's when you will grow. And that's when business will explode for you. That's when relationships will get better for you. Enjoy this day. Enjoy practicing these things constantly.